to the Happy Times podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Times podcast. I am your host, Joey Kidney, and I would like to welcome you to another live stream podcast. This is a live podcast. I film them every single time. I'm live on Twitch, Joey Kidney, and we just do the podcast live. I like it because it kind of puts me on the spot and allows me to think really clearly because I know people are listening, and I open up the chat later so that we can ask some questions about the podcast. So if you are ever interested or you want to ask a question about a certain topic, just tune into my live stream and we can always talk about it. But today I'm just getting settled in my new little setup. I'm in the basement now in my new home, and I'm really excited and really happy about it. And I got myself some tea. I'm drinking David's tea, cold 911. So let me get a nice little sip here. It's steaming, so it's probably going to burn me, but I'm still going to do it anyways. Oh yeah, that's good. That's perfect. And today we're going to be talking about losing a best friend, or losing a friend that was very close with you. Because I know a lot of people are going through this right now, especially with COVID and with everything happening. I find that a lot of people, like growing up, you know how people are always like, oh my God, I hate school. Like I hate high school. Okay, well think about this. When you're growing up, or at least for me, when I was growing up, the only time I ever really saw my friends other than sports was school. So if you're homeschooled, like to make friends, you do like an activity probably. You do a sport or some type of gathering, right? That you get together and you do something. Like you don't just go hang out at a park and make friends as a kid. It doesn't work that way because, you know, you're probably going to get taken or kidnapped, and that's super scary. Like a parent would never put you through that. So we go to school. And now what's super weird is that And it's so interesting to me. I don't know if interesting is the right word, but how kids are dealing with COVID and interactions. Like, do they miss touching? Do they miss seeing their friends smile and stuff like that with the masks and everything? And has it just changed their perspective? So I'm super curious. So if you have any, if you're a high schooler or if you're in college and you're used to going in all the time, leave a comment down below. I'm curious on how do you feel about all of this? But what I'm trying to say is that when we were in high school, we only really made friends through high school. But now I find that a lot of people aren't really staying connected with their friends anymore because they related it strictly to academics. They related it strictly to whatever, you know, they were going through at that time, but it was only to do with school. Like it was only like, you would only talk about like, oh my God, Sarah in French class, she's such a bitch. Like you would only talk like that. Like it wouldn't be anything too personal. It would always have to do with school. And there's some friendships that do get really personal, but there's also a lot that stay within like the curriculum, you know, like within academics. And I find that's really a really difficult thing. But on the other side of it, I find we just lose connection with a lot of our friends. And this is very valid. The one reason why I think it's valid is because a lot of people are very scared of COVID, and that's okay. That's a valid thing. Like it's killing people. Listen, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to break it down for you. You've heard enough about it. But I'm here to talk about like the mental side. And the only way I can do this is say my mental side. I grew up with a nurse as a mom, or mom who was a nurse. And not all heroes wear capes, right? And she has always taught me to, you know, when you come inside, wash your hands, sanitize, like, you know, after using public restroom, wash your hands, sanitize, all of that kind of stuff. And she always taught me how to do that. So this is nothing new. The only thing that's new is wearing a mask. And honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of like it and I kind of hate it. It kind of gives me like anxiety. But at the same time, it also keeps me really warm and like in my own little bubble. So that's kind of nice. And so this is nothing that's really new to me. It doesn't really scare me that much. I think if a loved one got COVID and something happened to them, then I think it would really open up my eyes. And you know, that's not the best way to think. But at the same time, I'm also taking all the precautions safely and carefully. And listen, I'm not here to talk to you about COVID and what I'm doing with it. I'm just here to say that it's been really hard to keep friendships and maintain friendships through COVID because of what we've all been going through, because we're not seeing our friends, because we haven't hugged them. If you're an empath, or if you've listened to the podcast that I've made about empaths, there's different types, and there's one, and I don't know this specific name, but there's one about like being a physical empath. That's the name. That's the name. I know the name. And being a physical empath means that you can gain energy, you can give off energy, and you can take in energy from physical touch. And a lot of people thrive off that, and a lot of people get defeated by that. It's being an empath is like both a gift and a curse. But a lot of people strive off physical touch, and that's something that we've been lacking for so long. And I know you might be thinking, oh, physical touch. Well, okay, listen, I live with my boyfriend. I touch my boyfriend. No, it's not just about like an intimate touch. It's just about physical touch. It's about shaking your boy's hand, dabbing him up, or it's about hugging a girl or your best friend. It's about being in the same room and not being so scared to touch somebody, or not being so scared to be so close to them. And I'm not saying to go and break all the rules here. I'm not even saying to go and hug your friend. I'm just saying that a lot of us have a hard time like staying with our friends, and a lot of us are losing friendships. And it's not always the worst thing. Losing a friend, I think we think about it so badly because it starts off with losing. And when we think about losing, we think about a negative thing. But really, I think it's just like growing apart. I don't think it's always losing. So I'm going to take another sip of my tea here. Oh, that's so soothing. That's so nice. But I think when I think about somebody's outgrowing me, or I'm outgrowing them, or losing a friendship, losing a best friend, when I think about this, I think about three questions, right? I think about, was it toxic? In this friendship, were they making jokes constantly? Were they talking down to me? Were they not valuing me? Was this a toxic friendship? Was this even something that's beneficial? The next question I ask myself is, can I live without them? Right? If I'm waking up every day and I'm not talking to them, and I miss them, then yeah, maybe it's still something to work towards. But if I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, well, I don't miss talking to Brandon, or I don't know any other names. If you don't miss them right away, then I think, and it doesn't always have to be with love. Everybody just like associates everything with love. You should be falling in love with your best friend, so it's the same thing. I'm not saying to fall in love with your best friend, but the person you fall in love with should be a best friend of yours. And if you can live without them, then maybe they can live without you. And maybe that's for the better. Because the next thing I think about, the next question that I ask myself is this for better for both sides? Right? Because sometimes it's better to split off. People are in your life, and I believe this truly. People are in your life for a certain reason, for the amount of time that they're in for a certain reason. They don't just come into your life and just randomly leave. No, they're there for a reason. They leave for a reason. They stay for a reason. There is a reason, and I don't think it's worth wasting your time thinking, oh my God, I'm the problem. No, they left because maybe they needed to go work on themselves. There's a reason, and obviously I don't know this hypothetical reason, but there is one, right? So when you lose a best friend, it's not just because you lost them. Something happened, whether it was an argument, or whether it was a joke, or whether it was you just drifted off. If it was an argument and you argued about, something stupid, like they ate the last bowl of cereal, right? Or they whatever it is. If it's something stupid like that, then, and then I think you have to go back to the number one question, which were they toxic? Because if you're arguing over cereal and you can't get over that, then I think there's a bigger issue there. And if that's always an issue, then that's something I think you need to look at. But I don't think it's worth beating yourself up over the fact that somebody leaves, because there's also the scenario where they leave for the better and you leave for the better, right? And if you're listening to this and you're the best friend that somebody lost and you knew you had to move on, you're not an awful person. Whatever guilt that you feel, I hope you can get over it and you can deal with it, because guilt's such a horrible thing to feel. And I understand why we feel it. I get it. I relate to it. It's my biggest thing. I feel guilt for absolutely everything. But if you left for the reason that it was toxic, or you left for the reason that you needed to better your own life, then I don't think you should be feeling any guilt for that. Right? I'm talking about this today because I've been going through it recently. I've been losing a friend that's very close to me, and it's tough to watch them leave, right? And so I made a poem about it, and I read it on TikTok, and a lot of people resonated with it, like a lot of people. It was insane. It's kind of scary, and I'll read it to you now. It goes, "I want to ask you if you're doing okay, but I'm scared that the answer might have to do with me in some way. In a way that I don't want to hear, a message that is messy would eventually turn clear, to understand why you truly left, and that's because you didn't need me, and I'm still here." So I talk about this because I'm somebody who's watching my friend walk out the door slowly and trying to do it like secretively, like not say anything about it, and it breaks my heart, because I always ask myself, I've been asking myself the question, like, was I good enough friend for this friend to not just own up to me and say, hey, I need to leave. I need to be with different friends. I need to go better my life. Because as a person that I am, I would definitely understand that. As I'm talking about it right now, all the scenarios of why you should leave and go better your life, and how it's okay and they shouldn't feel guilt. But I'm sure this person's going through a lot in their head. It's just really tough to watch. Now, before we continue going, I want to say thank you very much to Care Of for sponsoring this video, or this podcast. It's been awesome. They've been a great sponsor. And if you don't know what Care Of is a wellness brand that makes it easy to maintain your health goals with a customized vitamin plan. All of Care Of products are formulated with good for you, clean ingredients, and that are backed by science. So they have a 5-minute in-depth quiz that asks you questions about your diet, your lifestyle, your health concerns, and help you address whatever specific wellness goals that you want to achieve. So I took the quiz, and it was super easy. It's actually really cool because you get to learn stuff about vitamins and what you need for the things that you want to maintain and improve, and it's actually really easy, and it's really nice, because the next thing you know, it ends up at your door in these individual little packages, and you just pop them in every morning or whenever you want to take your vitamins, and it's amazing. It's so easy, and it's awesome. So the quiz is similar to like a one-on-one consultation with a nutritionalist. And you can do this all without leaving your home. Now, I'm not going to tell you this and not give you a discount code. So if you use the code HAPPYTIMES50, you're going to get 50% off your first Care Of order. So all you have to do is head over to takecareof.com and enter the code HAPPYTIMES50 to get 50% off your first Care Of order. That's takecareof.com, enter the code HAPPYTIMES50, and you get 50% off your first Care Of order. Thank you guys very much for sponsoring this podcast. It's been amazing, and I take my vitamins every single day. Now, back into losing best friend. I don't mean to make it like sound so sad. It's not a sad thing. It's just something that I'm dealing with, as long as the rest of the freaking world is. But listen, sometimes we outgrow friendships, and it's not a bad thing. Sometimes we just grow in different ways. And you can think about this as a relationship, because a lot of this applies to a relationship as well. But if you like a certain way of life, and that person isn't a good fit, That's okay. That's completely okay. But that doesn't go for everyone, right? I have friends in every field. I have friends who are engineers. I'm social media, dude. What do I know about engineering? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I grew up with them. I play hockey with them. There's interest there. I have a friend who lives in Mexico, and he's like one of my best friends in the entire world. And like, what do we have in common? I speak English. He speaks poor English. He tries. I'm joking. He's pretty good at it. But what I'm trying to say is that friends don't always need to be the exact same person in order to be friends. A good friend doesn't just stay. A good friend listens. A good friend cares. A good friend tries. And they put in their work. And if they don't want to do that, then maybe it's better off that they left anyways. But if they want to put in the work and they want to stay, that's awesome. But a good friend isn't always about like seeing them every single day. My best friend, her name is Brianna. She lives in the middle of nowhere now with a boyfriend that I've never met. I've heard he's great. I've heard he's amazing, but I've never met him. And I'll be honest with you. If you ask me that I'm sad about it, I'm not. Because Brianna and I have a friendship that's so strong that I could see her I could go without seeing her for like 6 months and then see her tomorrow and it's like nothing has happened. Because we're very much the same person, as much like we don't really give a shit, but we care about each other. And that's all that matters. That's the only thing that is on the table, is if they're happy, if they're healthy, and if they need us. And we need each other. And we don't need each other every damn day, but we need each other whenever somebody needs each other. And I think that's so important with friendship. So if your best friend left you and they wouldn't do anything of what I just said, then maybe it's better off. And I'm not saying this to heat you up in the sense like you're just like, fuck my best friend, like they're the worst person. I'm not trying to get you to do that. I'm not. And I don't think you should. I think you should look at this like level-headed. I think you should go into this situation as an adult and think about it. Like, think about your childhood best friend. Are you best friends with them? It's probably rare. It's very rare that you're best friends with them, right? Because you grew up in different directions. You grew up in different ways. And you went off and did new things. You found new people to be friends with, and you had new interests. And your path went different ways, and that's totally okay. But your paths don't just stop changing. They keep going, and sometimes it's not in the same direction as your friend. And that's okay. And it doesn't... I think people think that when you grow up, you stay on the same path, and once you hit 20, you're friends for life. And that's not always the case, because people come and people go, and they go for a reason. And the reason is that maybe they're not supposed to be in your life. Or maybe they're just supposed to be there for a little amount of time, or maybe they're going off to do their own thing. If your best friend leaves, if you have a nice... Never mind. I'm going to make a bad joke. I'm not supposed to make bad jokes. This is a sponsored podcast. I'm not supposed to make bad jokes. Don't do it, Joey. But if your best friend leaves and doesn't come back and makes you feel bad for it, I just want you to ask, were they your best friend? Or have you been neglecting somebody else for a very long time? And everything I said today, I also want you to ask this about yourself. Did I talk about you? Because whenever we are in these situations where we're like, somebody attacks us, or it's a negative situation towards us, we never think about the other way around. We never think about, are we toxic to this friend? Are we the one? I'm not trying to get you to think negatively. I'm trying to get you to think from both sides. We're not always right. Sometimes we're left. Sometimes we're wrong. Sometimes we're in between. And sometimes it's just worth a chat. Sometimes you can be arguing about the last bowl of cereal. A stupid argument. And for some reason, you keep arguing about it because you think you're right. You think you're the best thing in the entire world, and your ego's built all the way up. But sometimes it's worth it to hear their side of the story, because maybe they've been waiting for somebody to listen. Maybe you haven't been the best friend for quite some time, and they decided it's time to move on. There's a lot of different paths. I just want people to understand that it's okay to feel a certain way. If you feel sad that your best friend left, that's okay. If you feel sad that you had to leave your best friend, that's okay. Because there's two sides to every story, and you never know what somebody's going through. And if you don't, then maybe you weren't being as good as a friend as you think you were. Because as a best friend, it's about being there for somebody. It's about always being there. And that's it. It's not about being the funniest person in the friend group. It's not about the person who always has the jewel pod. Don't vape, kids. It's about being there. And that's it. That's all it is. So I hope you are there for your friends. And I encourage you to be there for your friends. And I hope that helped. I hope this maybe cleared up something. Now we're going to go over to Twitch, and I'm going to answer any questions that they have for us live on the Twitch stream. So just we're just going to wait, and we're going to see what's coming in. And I'm reading the chat now, and people seem to be relating a lot. So that means the world to me. But best friendships are hard. And it's not just because, like, oh my God, it's not just because that they're the love of your life or they're your best friend of all time. It's because change entered your life and you're scared of it. And that's okay to be scared of it. That's okay to feel different things in somebody else, and it's okay to not be on the same path as somebody else. It is tough to watch. Ali Wag asks, how do you make sure that you are making a lasting friendship? I think lasting friendships can only be told by time. Time, enjoyment, happiness. But I think at the end of the day, it is time. You don't know if you're making a lasting friendship until it happens. But you can definitely set like precautions, like ask yourself and do your daily check. After I hang out with this person, do I feel happy? Do I feel excited? When this person texts me, do I go, oh, what did I say wrong? Or do I go, oh my God, do they want to hang out? Let's hang out. I'm so happy. So I think your check-ins are really important. I've lost some close friends. I feel like it's me who messed up, but then I've been told it wasn't me. I mean, well, I guess that's a good thing. And listen, like, humility and feeling guilt isn't always a bad thing. I always thought it was like some super bad thing. It also means you have a heart. So don't cancel yourself out too quickly. Rachel asked, I feel like I lost my friendship due to my anxiety and depression. What do I do? The hard truth. Okay, so there's a couple hard, I'm going to say this bluntly. There's a couple hard things here. One, maybe you didn't open up enough. Maybe you didn't tell the person. Maybe the conversation wasn't there enough for them to understand what you're going through, and then randomly it just hit them really hard. That's one scenario. Or maybe you told them and they just didn't feel comfortable and they don't know how to assess the situation, and it's negatively impacting their life and they can't handle it. And it sucks, but that's okay. I think that's fair on both ends. And the last thing is that maybe you told them all of this and it's something that they didn't want to deal with. And if I'm being honest with you, that's not a best friend. A best friend would be there. Quinny asks, I have this one friendship that I've had since I was like 2. I don't see her very often, but it's like you said, we don't always talk very often or see each other very often, but when I do see her, it's like nothing has changed. I think that's the best friendship that you can have, and that's not something that you like somebody asked earlier, that's not something that you can like plan out to be a lasting relationship. It just happens. Angry Toad asks, I'm someone who changes a lot and people leave because of it. What's a good mindset to deal with this? So I'm a person that changes a lot as well. And I can't say I'm the most untoxic person because of this. I do change a lot, and the reason is because I like change. I like changing my friendships. I like meeting new people. I like doing a lot of this stuff. And I think you're just going to get to a point in your life where you're going to be watching How I Met Your Mother. And you're going to be sitting down and you're going to be like, wow, I would love to go to the bar every day with the same people and hear about their day and talk and relate and have fun and be with my best friends. And I think it's just going to come to that. Nikki says, why is it so awkward to make friends when we're older? See, here's the thing. It's not. So I have a dog. His name's Frankie. He's an Australian Shepherd. I made an Instagram for him, right? On this Instagram, people reached out, was like, hey, do you want to go to the dog park together? I started going to the dog park together, right? Me just thinking, okay, my dog has a new friend now, and we go to the dog park and we talk about dogs and blah, blah, blah. Then we slowly developed just talking about our own lives and each other, and we started supporting each other through like our businesses and everything, and it's really nice. And they happen. Friendships as adults happen. It's not as awkward as you think. It just takes more time because we're more protective because we've been hurt in the past. But it does happen. And with that, I think I'm going to end the podcast. Thank you guys very much for listening. Thank you to the people who watch live on Twitch. You guys are amazing. I'll stay on and talk to you after, but thank you guys very much. And thank you to Kara for sponsoring this podcast. And I will talk to you guys next time. Stay beautiful, and